Okay, over to you.
Also, our question was authoritative and helicopter mom, and we were asked to list three positives of being an authoritative or helicopter mom. List three challenges you see with this generation as helicopter mom, and develop ideas on how to overcome these challenges. My group, this is an input from my group, and it says that we
List
should
three
understand
positive
we should
of
understand
being
what the world
an
doesn't know.
authoritative
Um,
or
Hold on, hold
helicopter
on,
mom.
hold on.
List
Whoever
three
is speaking
challenges
there, please, can you
you
mute
see
yourself?
with the
Otherwise, I'm going to mute you.
generation.
All right, go ahead, please. Sorry about that.
yeah, an helicopter mom should understand the
As a
right
helicopter
timing.
mom.
You gave example of Jesus and Mary. Mary understood it was Jesus's time, even though Jesus didn't understand it was his time. Even though the mom knew, the mom had to step in to let him realize it was the right time for him. And also, helicopter mom is disciplined. Helicopter mom are open to, they can see more opportunities and then make their children understand the opportunities. The challenges we see these days is that if you don't correct them in love, encourage them, check on them, and share Bible passages with them, they might be defiant. So you have to have a listening here to listen first to what they have to say, and then you can approach to correct them in love. We just don't want to pray for them alone. We want to check on them, and also we want to step into action. Mary did not just pray for Jesus. When it was time, we went with Jesus, supported Jesus, and even made Jesus to realize it was his time. So we should not just sit and pray, but we should step into action. Praise the Lord.
Thank you very much for those points. So, a couple of things I heard, and I'm going to ask you to repeat them because I realized I wanted to actually take notes. I was thinking of doing the whiteboard. Let me see if I can get the whiteboard up. If I can find it. Where is our whiteboard? All this technology, they're good, but I can't keep up with them. Where is this? Sorry, I can't find it. Okay, sorry, sister. Let me see what I don't know. I don't have what I needed. I can't find the whiteboard. We have a whiteboard, but I can't find it. Please, can you go over the 3 points that you said? I'm gonna actually, you know what? I'm gonna go to a different mode. Okay, I'm at the end of a slide. I don't need you to be on camera. Okay.
So our group, we summarize an authoritative mom to be a mother that understands the right timing.
Mm-hmm.
An authoritative mom is disciplined. An authoritative mom can understand opportunities and then open doors of opportunities to our children. The challenges we find these days is that if we don't correct our children in love, if we don't listen to them, if we don't check on them, share the Bible passages with them, they might be defiant. We need to have a relationship with them before we can correct them or make them see what they don't see. And lastly, ideas to overcome these challenges is to spend more time with them, check on them, pray for them, and step into action. So after praying, we don't want to just sit down. We want to put everything we've prayed for, we want to put them into action. When it was Jesus's time, to perform miracle he did not understand, Mary had to step in. So we should be able to step into action. Praise the Lord.
Thank you very much. Sister Rose, you need to mute yourself because you are interfering with the recording. I've muted you. You've unmuted yourself, please. Thank you. All right, we'll go to group 2 on the same topic. Dr. Oh, no, Minister Christine, I think that's your group. You also had the same topic, correct?
Yes, so we had the same topic, but I was actually put into group 3, which is matchmaking mom. But I've got some points actually in terms of.
Hold on. So you are not on the authoritative helicopter mom?
No, I was actually put into matchmaking with Sister Vicky, group 3.
Okay, so who else did authoritative and helicopter mom?
I don't think anyone else did. Because I remember I was in the
No,
group
but I
on my
sent
own.
people to you. I sent them to you, not for you to change your topic.
Right. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So
Okay, that's fine.
in terms of helicopter mom, I've got here to be aware.
So do you have positives?
So these are positives, yeah. So to be aware, to know your children, to know what's we know what's good for them as parents. At the end of the day, that's why God gave them to us, and that's why God made us bathe them. So we must be aware. We must know our children. We must know what's good for them. And then we need to know when to hand off, when to take our hands off, when to back off.
Give me a second. I need to find this noisemaker.
Okay.
Just give me a second.
Okay. It looks like it's
Formula or Rosemary?
yes.
Yeah. But somehow I'm unable to mute her. Okay. Minister Christine, go ahead.
Okay. So yes, so we've got the first one, to be aware. So we need to know when to hands off and when to back off.
So are we on challenges now? No,
oh, sorry, I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, sorry, we need to have an open door. This is positive. Make sure we have an open door where they can come to us at any time.
Okay.
And then for the negative, for an authoritative or helicopter mom can be overbearing. And I'm saying this from experience actually, till God actually deals with us. We can't be overbearing.
Okay.
So and then the so I know I've only got one topic there, but others have been taken. So the way to overcome this is knowing when to hands off, knowing when to back off, and then knowing when to just carry on praying for our children. We've said our bits. Now it's time to back off and just keep praying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to matchmaking moms. I can't wait to hear from all of you. Who wants to go first? Dr. O, you ready? Or Apostle Natalie?
I was trying to unmute. Sorry. I was actually trying to unmute. So we did matchmaking mom, and we did have some information. So in terms of how do we what are the things that we can do? We said, you know, we can research the apps and actually suggest, the apps that we believe are good apps, because we know that it's not all of them that are out there that are good. And then encouraging them to attend events, just like you talked about, events where they can meet other young people of like minds, professionals and what have you, and also making connections, because we talked about the fact that, some of them are raised together, we have different family connections, and, just encouraging them, like you had mentioned, for them not just to stay in the house, but to actually actively engage and be able to connect with other young people. And then we talked about the challenges. I'm trying to remember the exact framing. And we talked about tribal challenges, how, especially in Africa, people are like, oh, don't marry this person from this tribe and all of that. The expectations of the individuals as well as parental expectations, because depending on the expectations of a young person, it may be unrealistic expectations. I remember people talking about, I want this person to be tall, short, physician, you name it. So all those expectations, even financial expectations. And then I've talked about, even though we put it under tribal, there's also the cultural issues that can come up in terms of the culture of the two people. That is also something that can be an issue. And then values. The values have to match up. If they don't match up, that's definitely is an issue. And one thing that we thought could be a challenge, because we're hearing it from the young people, is that some of the young men, as soon as they connect with the young ladies, they're asking, what do you bring to the table financially? And of course, family acceptance. If the family doesn't accept, or from the word go, they show very clearly that this is not somebody that they're going to accept, that's an issue. And what are some of the things that we can deploy to manage that? I don't have the exact question in front of me. And we talked about vetting,
I have
letting
the thing on the screen, Dr. O. Are you
I
not seeing
can't
the
see.
screen?
I'm seeing your picture. I was wondering. Okay, now
I'm
I'm seeing
sharing.
it. Okay, I was seeing your picture earlier, so let me look at it. That's wonderful. So the last one is develop ideas on how to overcome these challenges. I was wondering why I was seeing your pretty face. One of the ways that we talked about was, which is something that we said we have used before, is, letting the young people know, vetting when you introduce them to somebody or you're connecting them to somebody that is known. There is some vetting that has been done by the family. So that person is a known entity, which, while it doesn't eliminate all of the concerns or the dangers, at least makes it a lot easier. And then mentoring and knowledge sharing, connecting the young people with someone who has gone through the experience of either being connected to someone by a family member, a friend, or through the app, whichever way. And we brought to mind a young lady that you had actually interviewed or brought to one of the programs, where she talked about how she was introduced by somebody to her husband, who initially she wasn't too what have you, but ended up actually, they've been married for about 13 or 14 years now at the time you interviewed her. And then, the word of God always has a place, because when we look at the story of Naomi and Ruth, still being able to connect them to examples in the Bible of how, parents were able to still be able to connect them to their destiny and to their purpose, is still important. I believe any of my partners in my group, if I missed anything, please chime in. Thank you.
Yes, you got everything. Thank you, Dr. Obisheso.
Thank you, ma'am.
All right, Apostle Natalie, over to you.
Okay, we summed up with a goal. We should probably do background checks. That's very important. So when we try to, as matchmaking, we find out as much as we can about the individuals. We also said it shouldn't be overbearing in the fact that whatever the individuals get involved with, it should be a free will. We talked about the safety of the dating apps. We should go on these apps and do some investigations as to how safe it would be for the individuals to be on there. We talk about a social service. We can have services where the youths can be involved. My suggestion was based on areas that we may be in, some churches doesn't have much youth, but we can get together with different churches and probably have an intentional meeting, which would be like a youth night where the youth can come together, not obvious that we're trying to do a matchmaking, but we involve them in ways where they would be the ones that would be heading the meetings, putting things together and making decisions among themselves, which of course will cause interaction with each other from a verbal point of view.
Thank you. And the challenges. What are the challenges?
I believe it was Mr. Christine said trust is some of the things for some people. Purpose. Sometimes we're not too aware of what is a good purpose in everything. I think that's a challenge. That was one of the challenges that she said that we may have when it comes to doing this matchmaking. And I had overcoming barriers in the sense that sometimes it's not only youths, but sometimes, they may have been faced with something that may cause there to be a barrier. So overcoming barriers is very important as well. How they view things and how they overcome these challenges that they might have. Someone might not be verbal, but would need some directives as to how to be effective when trying to talk with someone. So that is areas I think that is a little bit of a challenge for some.
Very good. And what about ideas to overcome these things?
Okay.
What
I'm
I
not sure what
you guys did.
okay, so we talked about probably networking. I think that's what I have here. Networking, how they go about again finding different ways and areas and ways of how they can communicate. So we thought that networking was going to be something that would be instrumental in that way, more instrumental for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Very good.
What else did she have here? Yeah, and I think that's it. I think she said some of the other things are like dishonesty. Some people might be faced with something like that, so we need to make sure that whomsoever we're trying to match these individuals with is, we have to find honesty in the whole scenario so that they're not being misled in any ways.
Very good. Awesome. Thank you very much. What we all should try to do going forward is making sure we're taking notes because we come back to the table to talk about these things. Thank you very much. So I'm going to make this into 2 slides. Titi mom. Okay. All right, so let's go over this quickly because I want to make sure that we get this right in our minds. Minister Christina, I saw you had your hand up. Over to you.
Thank you. Just quick one in terms of the matchmaking one. So one of the things we have to guide against is
What category are you talking about?
so I'm talking about challenges,
Okay.
and then I'll talk about how to overcome them briefly. One of the things that we have to guide against in terms of challenges is we can make it, especially in the church, we can make it a case of them against us in the church. And again, I'm talking from experience here. And the other thing is, it can actually turn into almost a cultish attitude, which I know that God Almighty has delivered my current church from. Because what happened then is not allowing anyone in. We are now marrying within our church, if you know what I mean. So it's a matter of this family marrying this and that marrying that, which really is not a bad thing if you look at it. But then we can go overboard and go the other way by guarding and then not allowing anyone in and saying it's just our children just marry each other,
Yep.
which we've experienced in our church. But thank God, God has been merciful and he has delivered the church from that. So in that case, how to guide against it is to be open. We need to be open. We need to, I mean, I'm not trying to make it too spiritual. We need to seek God's face and not just parents just coming together and just marrying their children together. So we need
The
to
question is, are
guide
those
against that.
marriages staying together? If they're staying together, it's fine. But if they're
Yeah,
not
but
working out,
but to be honest with you, you can actually Google the church. It actually turned into a cult,
wow.
and people that challenged the church, even going to court and everything, even though they lost, in later years we found out that it was only the grace of God. Because I remember when I first went to the church, because we had a church, we had church school, primary, nursery, primary, and secondary school. When I moved to this area and I went to the church, I was told that because I do not go to the church, my children cannot go to that church.
To the school?
Sorry, my children cannot go to the school, even though I had reference from my pastor that I'm a Christian and all that. And it's only the grace of God. God even directed me to that church years after. But, I'm talking from experience and I don't want to say too much, but it can actually turn into a cultish attitude.
Thank you very much for that. So as we wrap up, here are the key points that we're taking away from here. And I hope you all got the video. I think I emailed the video. I want to thank all our facilitators. Thank you for facilitating the sessions. So a couple of things that we got here. 3 positive ways of being an authoritative or helicopter mom. We need to understand timing. You need to understand the timing you're talking to your kids. I believe that's one of the things. I tried to write very fast, but you'll get the video after. I recorded everything separate. Being disciplined. As a parent, we have to be disciplined. If you are not disciplined, you can't discipline your children. That's simple truth. And you have to understand opportune moment to reach out to your children. I really like that. You have to see there's a teachable moment that we have to learn to cash in on. Every moment of correction is not teachable moment, but we need to cash in on the teachable moment because that time your children are vulnerable to you and they're likely to listen. So that's a very good point. And keeping an open door approach where they can easily come and talk to you. That's something we have to really emphasize. We can't overemphasize that. There's some parents that say, I'm not my children's friend, I'm not their friend, I'm the parent. There's a time to be a parent and there's a time to be a friend. As they get more mature, when they cross age 18, you need to stop just being a parent and become a friend so that they can trust you and they can kind of confide in you, talk to you about things that matter to them. Because if you don't keep that door of opportunity open to them, you'll be hurting yourself and hurting them. So that's something that's very important. It says, be aware of who your children are. Each of us must really know our children. For those of us that have many children, You have to know a child. You got to know what works and what doesn't work. The same size doesn't fit all. That's something I'm sure those of you that have more than one child will know. Every child they all have different personalities. Like if I have to describe my boys, my oldest is left-handed, my second is right-handed, and my third is ambidextrous. So they see the world from three different angles. There's no day they see the world the same way. And dealing with them requires me as a mother to understand the child. There's one of them that will call me every morning because from childhood he was an early riser. He wakes up very early, and that hasn't changed. He wakes up early, will call and say, "How are you, sweetheart?" I say, "Mom, I'm just saying, calling to say hi." And I say hello to him. "How was your night? Anything new today?" "No, Mom." "All right, baby, have a good day." So you have to understand the child and know when to connect with them. These same kids will be sometimes you call them and they hang up on you. "Mom, I don't want to talk to you. Bye." Or "Mom, I'm too busy." But then they button on your time when they want to talk. Finding a balance is very key in being aware of who your children are. Some kids, you can rebuke them sharply. They won't take it to heart. They'll move on. But some, they'll just cut you out. I know these days that they can block you on their phone. They can block you from every channel. So we want to avoid that. We want to make sure we keep the door open for them. Know what is good for them as parents. That is an important point, and thank you for the team that brought that up. It's not everything that you see your friends do that is right for your children. And what is good for one child is not necessarily good for the other child. So we as parents, as moms especially, we must know what is good for each child. If you don't know yet, ask God for wisdom, ask God for insight for your children so you'll be able to understand what is right for each child. And like we said, it's similar to something above there. Open doors to communicate at any time. One of the things I truly enjoyed when my mom was alive back in the day was she was the only human being I could pick up the phone and call my mom at any time. When I call my mom will say, "How are you? Is everything okay?" Those are the first two things. "How are you? Is everything okay?" My mom would never say, "Why are you calling so late?" Never. But even my husband, the love of my life, there are times when I call him and he will say, "Why are you calling me now? It's too late." So that is the privilege of parenting for us as mothers. Your children must be able to come to you, especially because there are times they run into crisis. But if they don't see you as, "I can fall on my mom, she's not going to kill me for my mistake," because they all make mistakes and they're allowed to. Because unless they make mistakes, they can't learn. That's simple truth. We also learn by the mistakes we made. Let's take time to help them navigate. Does anybody have any comment, anything to add to this slide before we move on? Because these are really the important things of this whole session. Being able to talk through action items for us as mothers is very key. Any additions to this before I move to the next? Okay, moving along. We talked about the challenges you see with this generation as a helicopter mom. Sharing the word with them can be a challenge. And you know what? If you ask your children, they'll tell you what time is best for them for you to share the word. Some might tell you, "Mom, send it to me early in the morning." Some might tell you, "Send it to me at the end of the day. I'm likely to read it." Take time to figure out when is the best time to help your children. One of the challenges we have is listening to them. Because of our own ideologies and things like that, it's hard for us to listen at times, but this is an opportunity for us to regroup and reset ourselves to listen more. I've heard my son say that several times, "Mom, but you're not listening." And I think I'm listening, but they say, "No, Mom, you're not listening." When they call you out like that, don't be offended. Pause and say, "God, they said I'm not listening. I thought I was." And believe it or not, the Holy Spirit will help you understand why you were cutting across as not listening to them. We talked also, one of the challenges is building relationships. It could be a challenge if you are being too strict with them. growing up, you already created a barrier for them that may be hard for them to overcome. You need to reintroduce yourself. That's something we all have to learn to do. Reintroduce ourselves to our children, especially as they grow up, that, listen, you're not a kid anymore. I was strict with you when you were a little girl, when you were a little boy, but I believe now you're of age, you know your left from your right. I want us to build a relationship based on respect for one another. We need to learn to respect our children. And when you come across like that, as showing that you respect them as young adults, trust me, they will want to relate to you. They will want to talk to you. They want to tell you when the boy calls them out, when they're having a date. We want them to be able to relate to us, but unless we bridge that relationship, it makes it very difficult. Let's try not to be overbearing. When they tell you back off, Jesus pretty much told his mom to back off. She did back off, but her strategy worked. She backed up by not reacting to him. She backed up by not talking to him, but by instructing the servant. She just walked away from him and said, whatever he tells you to do, do it. She was not hovering over him. She walked away. She gave instruction and moved on. Let's learn when to disengage and move on, when to give instruction and just move on. Also, developing ideas of how to overcome these challenges. I like the concept of checking in with them. We got to learn to check in with our children. How do you check in? Oh, they're adults and I check in with them once a week. That's not good enough. I remember during COVID, there were some students that passed on during COVID. Days after, before somebody realized they were MIA. One of the principles I develop, I check with my kids every day. In fact, one of the habits I have is I call them and say, let me just see your face. And then they put it on FaceTime and they're showing me the sky. I say, no, I want to see your face. And once they show me, I say, just want to see your face. How are you today? Okay, thanks, bye. But learning to check in with your children is a good habit for us all to cultivate. And learning to spend time with them. Go on a date with them. Take them out to lunch. Go on a walk with them. When they stop by at home, don't let them stop by and you are hanging out with them and your husband. Create a me time with them. Let's all learn to do that. Just create you and them time. So they feel, oh, mom, I have mom's undivided attention for a change. And you'll be amazed how they look forward to that. And during those times, let them do the bulk of the talking. You do more of listening. You'll be amazed how you win them over, because they will go with an impression, I had a time with my mother and she actually listened. Learn to step into action. When you know they really need your help, step up to the plate. Mary did step up to the plate. She gave the instruction and Jesus followed through. Learn when to back off. When your kids say, Mom, that's enough. Oh, it's not enough. I got to tell you. No, back off. There's always another time. And let's keep praying for them. Pray for them every day. Ask God to direct their path every day. Anybody has anything to add to this before we move on? Because I'm just going over what you people said, what you said, which has been very great. Okay, moving on. Matchmaking moms. I love the ideas you all came up with. So, identify 3 ways to matchmake for the younger generation. Research apps. I hope you all will start doing that. I told you of one that I know is good because I have people that use them. And I have a lot of young girls within my sphere of influence. I have texted that to them. That is a good app for them to use. Research the apps and suggest good ones. Don't rebuke and say it's of the devil. It's not. Research those apps, figure out which is a good option, and you have your pros and cons. Don't just tell your son or your daughter this is a good app to use. Give them reasons so they know that yes, you did your due diligence, so you're not just giving them some crazy ideas. You're giving them ideas because you've truly researched them. And also encourage that social skill is very important. Make sure they're going out. If your son has not gone out for the whole month, there's a problem there. Ask them to go out. Encourage them to go out. Use family connection. We can use family connections to matchmake. You know, some of you, let me tell you what challenge I heard today during the conversations that you all did. Some of you have very close family friends. Like you can count like 6, 7 families that your children grew up with. And so they see themselves as family. Let me tell you the challenge to that. Believe it or not, some of them might be ideal to be husband and wife, but they will not see it. You know why? They already see themselves like we're family. You can help them find that meeting point. If you see the chemistry is there, it's okay to broker that conversation and say, I see how you relate to XYZ. Their natural response to you, oh, that's my brother or mom. We grew up together. We're family. But it's okay to say, hey, if there is something in your heart for him or for her, maybe it's okay for you to explore it. Nudge them. Nudge them a little bit. I know families that married like that. When the first person finally was brave enough to talk to the other one like, oh no, you're my friend. You're my brother's very good friend. We all grew up together. Eventually, they realized that they had more for each other. And we, in the mix, were able to encourage them that, listen, it's okay. It's okay to be an item. So you might be that voice that will help them know it's okay to be an item. Background check. You got to learn to do background check. Those things are important. No overbearing approach. Don't hover over them. Research safety for dating apps. Do your due diligence. We talked about that earlier on. Doing our own due diligence as parents, as mothers especially, is very key. Fathers may come with a different angle. Dads, they will brush off things because men's mind are wired a little differently from ours. But as mothers, we owe ourselves that responsibility to help our children. Social services and intentional cross-church meetings are another opportunity for exposure, for interaction. But like Minister Christine shared with us, we also have to be careful that we are not creating a cultic environment whereby they're in a cult. They can only be with people from the church. We don't want that. Here are some of the challenges that we talked about. Tribal challenges, that's real. Certainly for those of us from Africa, we know that some tribes may say, I'm Yoruba, I can't marry Igbo. I'm Hausa, I can't marry Igbo. I'm Igbo, I can't marry Yoruba or Hausa. Those things are real. But we need to learn to listen to our children and see beyond those barriers and find out, why do you want to marry this person? What do you see in him or her? Let them express to you their interests and see how valid it is. Because we want them to listen to us, but we also want them to know that we're hearing them. Expectations of family and the child, which may not be realistic. That is true. Some people will tell you have to marry from this family, and we can put a spin on Naomi and say, Naomi recognized that Boaz was a man of wealth, and she orchestrated that. We'll finish that some other time. But this is something that we all need to keep at the back of our minds. Help them to set realistic expectations, and you yourself set realistic expectations. Cultural differences that may cause clashes are real. When you find your children in that situation, your first place is to go to God and pray and say, God, here are the differences I see here. How do you help me and help them navigate? And what values do you bring to the family? Those are real. I have those conversations with my sons. I tell them, you don't want to marry a girl that is this way because of this. I tell them that because I want them to have a balanced approach. You want somebody that you can truly be an item with, and you choose somebody that their career path is meaningful for what you want to do for yourself. Those are things, conversations that we all have to understand to have. You want to marry somebody that doesn't look like they're going to get far in their career. One question you have yourself is, what happens down the line if they cannot add value to this relationship? One of these marriage programs that I work, all this, I watch all this program. One of the couples, the guy was not working, but he married. And the girl kept on saying, what I'm worried about is you don't have a job. but the guy has a lot of savings, and also he has his ideas. He wanted to do some more creative entrepreneurial things, and that had been a struggle between the two of them. Those are real things that you got to talk about. I know we're desperate for our sons and daughters to marry, but you got to actually pause and say, is this person going to bring value to who you are? Remember, we talked about security, home, and it shall be well with you. Will this person be that person of value that those three attributes can be realized? Trust, purpose, overcoming barriers, and past experiences, even nonverbal personalities are things that can be a challenge in a relationship. You have to teach them that people have to earn each other's trust. And if somebody betrays your trust for whatever reason, one of the biggest challenges is how do you overcome that lack of trust? And that is also emphasized in the next point, overcoming distrust, because honesty is very important. Avoid them against us approach, which is something that Sister Christine also brought to the table, that we need to make sure that we're not doing a war against them. They're on one side, you on the other side kind of approach. And the ideas that we develop that can be used is vetting the new connection is very useful. Mentoring and knowledge sharing, family and friend connection, having your friends to shadow this person, to just look them over to make sure that they're right for you is also very important. And use ideas from the Word of God that can help you overcome some of the challenges. Networking, communication channels must be kept open. And finally, be open minded as you seek God's wisdom. I'm going to stop here. Any questions, any comments, everybody? It's really been awesome having all of you here, and I want us to pray right now as we wrap up. We've exceeded our time. We've ended up with 3 hours. I was hoping we'll do 2, but it is well. We've had an